The world can feel, well, pretty chaotic, right? Totally out of our control. So how do we build a mind that's, unbreakable? It's a huge question, and people have been wrestling with it for thousands of years. But one of the most powerful answers, it actually comes from a guy who lost everything in one single awful moment.
Okay, so meet Zeno. This guy is a super successful trader. We're talking top of his game. His whole fortune, his entire life's work, is on this one ship. And then, bam, a storm hits. Just like that, the ship goes down and every single thing he owns sinks with it. Gone. At the bottom of the ocean. And the key thing here, it was completely 100% out of his control.
So let's just pause for a second. Put yourself in his shoes. What do you do? What's the right reaction? Total rage, crushing despair, feeling like the universe just totally screwed you over? For most of us, yeah, that's pretty normal. But what Zeno did next, well, it was so unexpected it literally started a whole philosophical revolution.
So instead of just collapsing in grief, Zeno did something different. He reframed the whole situation. It's not that he didn't feel anything, he wasn't a robot, but he decided he wouldn't let those feelings run the show. He wandered into a bookshop in Athens, just started reading and studying philosophy, and he stumbled upon this massive realization, a realization about what he actually had power over.
And that right there is the absolute core of the philosophy he started, what we now call Stoicism. Think about it. He figured, what's the point of weeping over the cargo? It's gone. The shipwreck, that was an external thing. But his response, his choice to stay calm, to learn something from this disaster, that was all him. That was internal. That's where his real power was.
And this idea, it leads us straight to the single most important concept in all of Stoicism. Seriously, if you remember just one thing from all of this, let it be this. It's called the Dichotomy of Control. So check this out. It basically splits the world into two lists. In the first column, you've got the stuff you have total control over, your thoughts, your actions, your choices, your character. But then there's the other column, the stuff you have zero control over. The weather, what your boss thinks of you, the YouTube algorithm, you get the idea. The Stoics said that almost all our stress and anxiety comes from us trying to control stuff in that second column, when really, all our energy should be focused on the first. There was this ancient Stoic named Epictetus, and he just nailed it. He said our main job in life is super simple. It's to figure out which column things fall into. To just draw a line in the sand every single day and ask, hey, is this something I actually control, or is it not?
And what's so cool about this is that it wasn't some exclusive club for rich guys who lost their ships. Nope. The Stoics taught this stuff out in the open, in public squares, because they truly believed it was a practical philosophy for everyone. It didn't matter if you were at the very bottom of society or at the absolute top.
Just look at who was practicing it. First up, Epictetus. The guy we just quoted, he was born a slave. His name even means acquired. He used these exact ideas to get through unimaginable hardships.
Then, on the total opposite end of the spectrum, you've got a guy like Seneca. He was one of the richest, most powerful men in the entire Roman Empire, an advisor to the emperor himself. And he was a devoted Stoic.
And then you get to the very, very top, Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor, literally the most powerful man on the planet. And every single day he's writing in his journal what we now call his meditations, basically reminding himself how to live by these rules. Think about that range. A slave and an emperor, both finding guidance in the very same philosophy.
This just shows how ahead of their time they were. It was pretty radical, actually. They came up with the word cosmopolitan, which means citizen of the world, because they believed we're all part of one big human family. And get this, at a time when women were basically shut out of philosophy, the Stoics opened their doors. They argued that things like wisdom and virtue, well, they don't have a gender. They're available to everyone.
All right, so this all sounds good in theory, right? But how do you actually do it? How does it work in real life? Well, the Stoics weren't just thinkers, they were doers. They had a whole practical toolkit for building a stronger mind. Let's dig into it.
Everything for them boiled down to four main virtues. First, wisdom. That's just understanding what you can and can't control. Then, courage, having the guts to face what's necessary and push back against what's not. Third is temperance, basically moderation, doing more with less. And finally, justice, which they thought was the big one. And that's all about doing right by other people. And the thing is, they saw these as all connected. You can't really have one without the others. Together, they're like a compass to guide your actions.
Okay, here's another big one.
a practice they called voluntary discomfort. It's exactly what it sounds like. You intentionally choose to do something a little hard. Maybe you take a cold shower, or sleep on the floor one night, or just eat really basic food for a day. Now, the goal isn't to torture yourself, it's to train your brain. It makes you tougher for when life actually gets hard, and man, does it make you appreciate the simple comforts you usually take for granted.
Seneca put it really well. He said this isn't just about being tough, it's about being free. You know, we live in a world that's always screaming at us that we need more stuff to be happy. Well, learning that you can be perfectly fine with less, that frees you from all that noise. It gives you back your mental space to focus on what's really important.
And look, this stuff isn't just some dusty old philosophy. These ideas have been a literal lifeline for people throughout history, facing unimaginable challenges. And they're still shaping our world right now.
27 years. Just think about that number for a second. 27 years. Imagine being locked away for that long, all for fighting for what's right.
Because that's how long Nelson Mandela was in prison. And during those 27 years, he reportedly had a copy of Marcus Aurelius's Meditations. He used these Stoic ideas to get through it. And then, when he was finally free and became president, he made a choice. He chose reconciliation, not revenge. He knew he couldn't control the past, but he absolutely could control his response and help shape the future.
And this ancient wisdom, it's literally the foundation for some of the most effective forms of modern therapy. You've got things like REBT, which is all about identifying and challenging your irrational thoughts. That's pure Stoicism. Or logotherapy, which is built on the idea that finding a purpose is what gets us through suffering. Again, straight from the Stoic playbook.
So it all comes back around, doesn't it? From Zeno losing his ship to whatever challenges we're facing in our own lives, there are always going to be storms. Stoicism never promises you a life without storms. What it does promise you is a rudder. It gives you the tools to steer your own ship, your own mind, right through the chaos and toward calmer waters.
And that really leaves us with one final question to think about, just for you. What's one thing in your life, right now, that is totally outside of your control, but that you can choose to react to just a little bit differently?